Are we live now? Are we live? Are we live? Okay. Now you can see me. So y'all haven't heard me for the last 8 or 9 minutes. Is that what I'm seeing here? Okay. So I see now you are seeing me. But the question now, you hear the fire trucks. All right, Jack, good. But you did not hear what I was going to cover it, what this stream is going to be about, did you? If you didn't hear that, give me a no. You didn't hear what this stream is? Was the first 9 minutes blank? Okay. All right. So we'll back up and start over again. All right. So obviously I'm working with a new setup here. This is the first stream back, and thank all of you for being here. My video switcher died on me. That's what caused my absence. And I got the new video switcher, but then when I went to get into StreamYard to get everything set up, I can't get into StreamYard. The email that my account was set up with initially, I no longer have access to, and they want to send me a 6-digit code in order for me to get into that. So I'm having to use OBS this time, and I don't like it. It doesn't have all the nice fancy bells and whistles StreamYard's got, but we'll figure this out. I will get back into StreamYard because I don't like this at all. But tonight is going to be a video going over the things I've learned in the past couple of weeks, helping one or two of you with some issues with LightBurn and laptops. And I have said for the last 2.5 years that LightBurn does not like laptops. And I was told that by the girls and guys at LightBurn. Whenever I was up at Peoria for the first LightBurn Expo, Oz himself said that the problems I was describing was due to resolution issues in my laptop and LightBurn. And that was all that was told to me. It was that it was a resolution problem. Well, they didn't expand on the problem beyond that. And since I have this much knowledge about the back end and the technical information, if they'd have gone into too techie info, I wouldn't have understood it no way. But that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to go into why you have the problems you're having with LightBurn 2.0 with your laptop and with some of your PCs. And there are ways to eliminate a lot of these glitches and get them straightened out with a minimal amount of time and work with your computer. So let me say this. LightBurn 2.0, 99% of the problems that you're experiencing, if you're experiencing problems, are not a result of LightBurn. It is a result of your setup, of your computer, and how it's able to handle the current version of 2.0 of LightBurn. When they were doing the beta testing for 2.0, the testers, like Chris and many of the others, they're all working with the best of the best of the best equipment and know how to. They know how to squeeze and fine tune their machines, and ain't having problems. Well, they didn't think of numbskulls like me out there, and who have less than the top of the line equipment and have no knowledge of what needed to be done, And I have gremlin after gremlin after gremlin after gremlin. And I think LightBurn has learned a lot from this experience. And I doubt once they get all the problems and kinks worked out of it, they probably won't make this same mistake again. They'll know what to look for and test and how to prevent this from happening in the future. I'm going to be referring to a lot of notes in this stream because there's a lot of information, a lot. It may require you guys rewatching this and backing up and watching it again to check and fix some of your issues. But first, I'm going to give you a quick summation of what this stream is going to include. Not because we're not going to be talking about just LightBurn problems, but also what to expect in the upcoming videos from Hobo with Wood. So tonight, I'm going to be breaking down everything I've learned in the past couple of weeks about running LightBurn on laptops and high-resolution screens, be it a laptop and or PC. High-resolution screens, the dots per inch scaling, the DPI scaling, the GPU settings, GPU, graphics processor unit settings, and the USB power saving settings. These things can all cause problems in LightBurn, and most people don't even know these settings exist. I'll walk through why high DPI laptops, and you would think that a newer laptop with a higher resolution, the best of the best screens, and the best, you'd think they'd have less problems, but you'd be wrong. Why high DPI, high dots per inch settings, and can struggle more than a 1080p setting or a 1080p machine, and which LightBurn settings matter and which ones should you avoid. I'm also going to cover the graphics processing unit drivers, the GPU drivers, how to check your hardware, how to check your computer, and how to prevent your laptop from dropping connection with your laser during a job. And a lot of people talk about that. They're like, middle of a job, it drops a loose connection. We're going to talk about connectivity issues, but also even if it's not a connectivity issue, if it's not a USB problem, it could be a problem that results from the GPU. And we're going to talk about how we're going to stop all those problems. Plus, I'm going to go over the new support system for Hobo with Wood. I'm moving away from Patreon. Patreon is going bye-bye. And I'm moving to a support system known as MemberPress. And MemberPress is going to be part of the Hobo with Wood website. It's all going to be contained into one location. You'll no longer have to go into Patreon and or Hobo with Wood to see the new files or the post and the videos. It's all going to be there on the website. For existing patrons, I'm going to go over that in a little bit. You're not going to have to worry about losing any of your support you've already paid for. Some of you are already renewed an annual support just in the past 4 to 6 weeks or longer. If you've got any time left on a current support, it's just going to be rolled right over into the new one, and I'm going to go over all that. But this stream is going to be focused on a lot of facts, a lot of solutions, and exact settings that can make LightBurn run smoothly on your laptops and PCs. With that said, keep in mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. I am not a tech guru. I'm going to share with you the things that I have learned and have seen that work. I'm not coming. So this is going to be full of information coming from a very novice level. And I see Chris is here in the conversation. And should I make any kind of comments that are completely erroneous or way off base, I know that I can at least count on Chris to go, hey, numbnuts, that's not quite right. But I feel like everything I'm going to share with you is coming from a position of accuracy, or else I wouldn't be putting it in a video. But I've missed each and every one of you guys, and I am so thankful that you are here tonight to support Hobo and this challenge of learning to work with lasers and LightBurn. And I did miss a stream during the Thanksgiving weekend, so I do want to take a second and just give thanks to each and every one of my patrons, and even the non-patrons, because without your support, without you being here watching me make a fool of myself sometimes, I couldn't be here. I have, the past few weeks, my struggles have been beyond just the switcher. The switcher was the tip of the iceberg that just started an avalanche of issues. I'm dealing with a whole lot of personal issues and family issues and elder care issues, and my plate has been really, really, really full. And things were looking up a little bit. Some things have come to light, and things were maybe starting to see a little bit of a light at a tunnel or some. And then this week, as you know, I am Hobo with Wood. Hobo because I live in an RV and have been living a hobo lifestyle since 2019. So for 6 years, I've just been, for 2 years, I would just different spot every time, or every 2 weeks in the RV. But I'm still in the RV, but got a little more roots. But this week, I flooded my RV. I had up to 2 inches of standing water inside the RV, and I managed to total the RV. The RV is ruined. At this time, I am technically homeless, and just one more needle, or just one more straw on the haystack to break that camel's back. But I'm fortunate to have the support system that I do have. But because of my patrons and the support I get from you guys, I've been able to keep my bills paid. And one of the bills that I've kept paid is my insurance bill. And I do have insurance coverage on the RV, and I'm going to be able to make that transition. It's going to be a headache. I got to find a new home. But I am thankful for every one of you. Now, let's get in here and talk about some of these specific problems and what you can do with your LightBurn setup and your computer. And again, it's more about your computer setup than it is your LightBurn setup. There are a couple of things in LightBurn that you can do to mitigate some of the problems that are a result of your computer and your setup. But most of the issues all come from your computer, not from LightBurn. So, all right. And I want to just look. I don't see anywhere in this chat stream. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. No, I can see all the chats, but I do not see anywhere for me to enter comments in the chat stream. So I'm going to roll up here. I'm running Windows 11 too, Three Dogs. It's not so much about the version of Windows as it is about the settings. And exclamation marks. Can I bring these onto the screen? No. Good to see you. I think it's more of a case we identify that what is LightBurn problem is. What is a LightBurn problem and what is an operating system problem that most people don't know. Yeah. And I don't know why. Now I'm not scrolling anymore. Man, I do not like this system. Live chat. There we go. All right. Chris asked how Gigi's fine. She's not inconvenienced at all. She's She, the only thing that Gigi, and for those who don't know, Gigi is my dog. Gigi hates having the routes that we've got right now. She'd rather be on the road and gone, not stuck in Gastonia, North Carolina. So how about, let's see here. Chris, you're a bright green in the comments here. Do me a favor, since I cannot type into the comment stream, enter about 6 or 8 asterisk and enter, so we can bookmark this for me so I know where I'm at in this chat. And then I won't scroll past that when I go to look for questions and comments. So this week, I learned quite a few different things. The problem is not just a resolution issue. It's not about the resolution settings in your screen for your laptop and or your PC. It's how Windows scaling and the user interface scaling and the graphics processor unit handles LightBurn. High resolution screens, anything above 1440 and 4K, anything above 1080 actually, and 4K, 1440, they can cause problems with the user interface, what you see on the screen from LightBurn. The higher the DPI settings, the higher the resolution, it causes, most just about all of you have probably experienced it, and maybe you've been flummoxed and shut it down, reopened it, but the color palette for your different layers, it'll drop out, go away. The Windows control to minimize and maximize the screen across the top, it'll disappear. And then even your icons can change or get moved around. All of those are problems that are a result of having too high of a DPI, too many dots per inch. LightBurn 2.0 introduced user interface changes that react badly to certain laptop GPU, graphics processor units, drivers, especially Intel integrated graphics. So it's actually they have certain problems in certain laptops with certain GPUs. Windows display scaling. Now this I ran into with Craig, and I don't know if Craig's here tonight, but Craig reached out to me and was trying to help somebody with using a laptop, and they were setting up LightBurn and couldn't get the menus to dock. You know, if you've got your art library and your cut files and your console, and you dock them over to the right, and you dock them, well, they just wouldn't dock. We've all experienced that, and now I know why it's a problem. When you use the Windows scaling feature, if you've got the displays set up to be, even if it's the right DPI, if the resolution is not an issue, but you've zoomed in the view on Windows to 125%, to 150%, 170%, that can cause a problem with LightBurn. And we're going to talk about how to resolve that and how to fix those issues. Setting LightBurn to override the scaling problems. What settings do you want to use? There are a couple different settings in the display settings in LightBurn that can help mitigate some of these problems. We're going to go over those. Running LightBurn on laptops with switchable graphics can cause inconsistent behavior. So if you've got multiple GPUs and it can switch back and forth, that can cause a problem. And I'm going to show you and talk about how to select and designate a single GPU and stop that from happening. LightBurn 1.7 is still more stable for many of the users. 2.0 whatever has issues that show up on more laptops and on more desktops. But again, that's because of your equipment and not because of the software. So even after you look at all these things and we talk about all these things, you may find because of your limitations and your equipment's limitations, it might be more favorable to roll back to 1.7. External monitors with different DPI settings can trigger a problem within LightBurn. So like I've got two different monitors up here, and if I happen to be running different DPI or different resolutions on one monitor versus the other, that could cause an issue. That would be probably less common for most folks, because most of you running one display. But external monitors can cause LightBurn to jump or resize or hide those pieces of the user interface I was talking about earlier. And another thing that people don't realize that can be a problem is on laptops with the touch screens, that can complicate Windows scaling even further. And that's the LightBurn's Windows scaling. So your best practices is when you're using the Windows scaling, when you're zooming in to make the screen bigger using the zoom feature in Windows, don't go over 125%. If you go up over 125%, it's going to make these gremlins more prominent. So if you can keep it to 100 to 125%, you're going to be better off. We're going to force it to use one GPU. Use the DPI override setting to help stabilize the user interface. Like I said, don't use multiple screens with different DPIs. Keep your GPI drivers updated. And I didn't know that was something I needed to do, but the graphics processors need to be updated just like software. And we're going to talk about where you go to do that. And I'm going to show you how to find your GPU and where do you go to set it to update it. And the quickest, simplest fix to correct your user interface when pieces of the software disappear. And if after all this you still have issues, then you should just roll back to 1.7 until you get a more advanced or more up-to-date equipment, or hardware, because it's mostly hardware issues. All right. So why is the higher resolution is more of a problem than the 1080? And why is that? You would think that the higher the resolution, it's better resolution. It should be better, but it's not. LightBurn on high resolution, high dot sprint screens, high displays forces Windows to use display scaling to make the icons and the text readable. LightBurn's current user interface doesn't handle the scaling consistently. When LightBurn scales the interface, when Windows scales the interface, when you zoom in to 125% or 150 to 175%, LightBurn will hide the toolbars, hide the color palette, lose or minimize or maximize buttons, render windows partially off the screen, shrink and expand the user interface elements. It can cause all kinds of problems. Lower resolution screens, 1080p's, rarely need any scaling done, so LightBurn's user interface displays normally, no problems. So high resolution screen equals more scaling and more LightBurn glitches. 1080p, little or no scaling and fewer issues. And I'm going to see here. I see Chris got some comments. Let's see here. Yeah, Chris, Chris gave away my quickest and easiest fix. Chris says Windows up arrow will restore Windows display to in probably 75% of the cases. And that was that was going to be one of my, because I said there's one simple fix to do it, and that's it. For Windows users, when that happens, when the scaling is taking place and cause elements of LightBurn to disappear, if you hold the Windows button and the up arrow button, it should fix the scaling problems like that, and everything returns back to the screen. And that works, as he said, 75% of the time. And what I'm hoping to do is show you everything you need to even prevent that from happening. But then once you've done everything, and if it happens again, just Windows up arrow brings it back. And he says external monitors can either solve or add to problems. It's the luck of the draw. Let's see here. As painful as it can be, always keep the system and drivers up to date. Yep. I'm going to show you. Lyle asked, how do I know what my DPI is? I'm going to show you that. We're going to get into that just in a matter of a minute or so. I wish issues with the new LightBurn were only graphical issues. Moving the Z up and down with the exception of autofocus crashes my MON port. Moving the Z up and down. I'm not using any autofocus or using my Z, and like I said, here the issues I'm talking about tonight is not every one of the problems going on, but here's what can happen. Blazing Wolf. I learned this when I was writing some code. The problem that you're experiencing with the Z, moving the Z, crashing, causing some issues, is because there may have been somewhere else within the software that uses that value, and because of the way that it's interacting with the system, it ends up crashing that part of the movements as well. One change over here inadvertently made a change over here, and it's impossible to test all of those things whenever you introduce new things. Some things get changed that you never would have thought would have happened because you made a change over there. And those are legitimate bugs that you may find and get worked out. But most of these issues and the gremlins we're going to talk about tonight here are display related, scaling related issues, and 99.9999% of the time it's having to do with the Windows. All right. And Chris Gallagher says to Blazing Wolf, unconfirmed, but I believe MONport uses non-standard commands to control the Z-axis. And see, they're and he agrees with that. So how do we resolve and minimize these issues with the DPI? Well, first thing, there are two settings in LightBurn display that have to do with the scaling. In fact, let me go over to LightBurn here, and there we are, and switch. So in the settings and under display, you have enable high DPI scaling and round high DPI scaling to the nearest integer. These two options you can turn on, and then there's another anti-aliasing that you may want to turn on as well. I have that one on. I don't have these on because right now I'm not on my laptop. But let's talk about these two right here. What they are, what they do, and when and why you might want to use them. So the first one being the where did it go? There it is. The first one, enable high DPI scaling. Enable high DPI scaling, what it is and what it does. It forces LightBurn to apply its own internal scaling instead of letting Windows do the scaling. This can prevent the user interface from shrinking, stretching, or disappearing when Windows is set to 125% or up to 175%. So when do you want to use it? Use this if LightBurn's user interface is too small or broken on high resolution screens. It's good if you have a display that is a 1440p or a 4K laptop display. If it's a high resolution screen, if it's higher than a standard 1080p display, then you're going to want to use LightBurn's scaling, and that will use the internal scaling of LightBurn and not what Windows is putting out there. And I forget who just asked, if you want to see what your, let me minimize this, minimize, see, turn that off, minimize this. All right, and now the question was, how do I determine what my screen resolution is? If you're on your desktop and you just right click and go to display settings, and you want to go to, depending on right here, my display resolution. On this particular computer, I'm using a 1920 by 1080, so that's the 1080, and I've got all these different possibilities that I can select from. So I'm using a 1080 here. This is not a high resolution screen, and I do not have the problems on this PC that I have on my laptop. So if you right click in your desktop and then go to your display settings, and you can find your display resolution, that'll tell you what your DPI is. Let's see here, go back. All right, then the other option was round a high DPI scaling to the nearest integer. And what it does is it rounds Windows scaling values. If you've got your screen zoomed into 125 or 150% to make that screen bigger, and I'm guessing that a large number of those in the Hobo Nation are using that feature, because a lot of us are the older farts with poor vision, and we need it to be big as we can because we can't see it without it. Well, doing that zoom in is introducing problems into LightBurn. So if you're at 125 or 100%, 50% or bigger, and you turn on that round high DPI scaling, it's going to round it up to the highest nearest integer. So it doesn't round up; it'll round it to its nearest integer, even number. So if you're at 125, it's going to probably round it to 100%. If you're at 175 or 100, it's going to round to 200%. The scaling within the way Windows perceives it. This avoids fractional scaling, which can confuse LightBurn's user interface rendering. When do you need to use it? Use it if LightBurn looks blurry, misaligned, or has disappearing toolbars. If your toolbars are dropping off and going away when you're using that zoom feature, then turn that second option on, and it helps stabilize the user interface on mixed resolution setups. So 4K or 1440p laptops, turn both of those on. 1080p laptops, leave everything off. It's usually not needed. If your user interface disappears, enable the round high DPI scaling first. If the user interface is really tiny and distorted, enable the high DPI scaling. All right. So those are what those two functions do, and depending on if you're on your laptop or on a PC, depending on what your resolution is, you may or may not need to turn those on. On my laptop, I gotta have them. And the simplest way for a laptop owner to check their screen resolution, right click on the desktop, not within LightBurn, or you need to be on your desktop. Right click your display settings, go down to scale and layout, and look for the display resolution. And that's how you find your screen resolution. Let's see here. Alright, enable the anti-aliasing. It says slower but prettier. In fact, before I go into that, let me look here and see if I see any questions or comments. I got that for Lyle. How to check your DPI. So Lyle, yours you say is 1925 by 1080. You should be good. On one laptop, I should say thank you for showing me where to find it. All right. So, Chris, give me 8 more asterisks so I can mark that spot here. The other option in LightBurn that I pointed out was the settings, display, enable anti-aliasing, slower but pretty. This simply, whenever you're looking, it may be mainly in the preview, but it may have some difference in the rendering on your desktop as well. But it just makes everything, it gives everything, makes the lines more curved when they need to be curved. It keeps everything smoother. It takes away some of the straight lines between your nodes. It's simply about appearance, but because it does require more processing power from the graphics, it may, depending on your graphics processor, it may slow things down a little bit. But it is strictly about, looks. So let's see, go back here. It smooths jagged edges on shapes, lines, and text in the LightBurn preview. Makes your workspace look cleaner and more polished, but it does, like I said, it uses more processing power. When to use it? If you just want it to be a cleaner look to it, and if you're not worried about that, just turn it off. If it feels laggy, if you go to zoom in or check something and your LightBurn is slow to react, then you might turn that off and see if it doesn't start moving around better. Let's see here. All right. So I mentioned that some of your laptops, you won't see it most likely in too many of your actual desktops or PCs, but some of your laptops can have, don't see live chat, there we go. Some of your laptops can have multiple graphics processors. And if you have multiple processors, then that can create an issue with LightBurn switching processors. So how do you determine if you have multiple processors? The fastest and the simplest way to do that is using the task manager. So for those with your laptop, and I'm going to try to do this, let's see here, see if I can do this without blowing everything up. And because I did not have the ability to use StreamYard, I had planned on having my laptop hooked up here so I could show you all these things on my laptop. But I'm not able to get into StreamYard, so I can't get connected with multiple units, and so I'm a little bit handicapped here. But let's see here, say okay, minimize this again. All right, so the simplest way to see what GPUs your laptop or your computer has, you don't need to worry about any other extra software. All you need to do is, and let me switch, there we go. Go over to your desktop and then right click, come down here to the bottom in your taskbar and right click, and you're going to choose the task manager. When you click the task manager, you're then going to look for the performance tab on the left side of the screen, which is right there. Mine looks like it's a cardiogram or a heartbeat. So click on performance, and then when you click on performance, you're going to look and see if you see GPU 0, GPU 1. And it's going to show you, like here, I've got GPU 0. I've only got one GPU. I've got CPU, my memory, my disk, Ethernet connection, but I've only got one GPU on this particular computer. If you're running on a laptop and you have multiple GPUs, they're going to show you GPU 0 and GPU 1. That will instantly show you your GPUs that are installed. You could also do Windows plus X to get into your device manager and look at your display adapters, but that's one of the easiest and quickest ways. Let's close that up. Right click, task manager, performance, and there's my GPUs, 1 or 2. I normally use StreamYard, but I don't have StreamYard access right now, Lyle. That's what I normally stream my live streams with. All right, so if you have, but now, that's how you determine how many GPUs you have. How many graphics processors do you have? That's how you determine that. Once you've determined you have multiple GPUs, to maximize the efficiency of LightBurn and to minimize your opportunity of dropping information or crashing or creating problems with the display and the user interface, you need to use one. You need to have a designated GPU for your laptop or your computer if you have multiples in your computer. Because some desktops, some PCs can have multiple graphics processors. So what are you looking for? Well, most laptops fall into one of these categories. They either have one and it's an integrated GPU. And that's what I have here. I've got one. Another option is it can have an integrated and a dedicated, or they can have dedicated only. All right. I have on this one one in the Intel R UHD graphics card, and because I think this one was where it told me I needed to make sure everything was up to date. Yeah. So let's talk about the updating the GPU. So I told it which graphics card. I told chat which graphics card I had, and it says integrated GPUs are less powerful than dedicated GPUs, graphics processors, but they can handle LightBurn fine for normal engraving tasks. You may notice a slower zooming and preview lag, and some of the high DPI scaling or anti-aliasing. And I've got an incoming call, but it'll have to wait. High DPI scaling or anti-aliasing features can put an extra strain on your graphics processor, causing the user interface glitches or causing it to lag. So the best practices for me, for my personal one, was to keep the anti-aliasing on and keep my DPI scaling options off, and making sure that my GPU drivers are up to date. And then I said, wait a minute, up to date, my drivers? The GPU, the graphics processor drivers? How do I do that? Well, and I wished I could share this link with you guys. I'm going to do this. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to close that. There we go. Because what you'll probably want to do, since I can't share this with you, I've got this zoomed in and I'm going to switch. If you're watching this on the replay, or you go back and watch it the replay, you could pause it here and copy this down, or if you just Googled Intel's driver support, you could find it. But there is the actual link. Intel.com content www.us.support.detect. This will detect what drivers you have going on there and if there's anything out there for a way of updates. So mine needed to be updated. I had to go in and update my GPU. But if you search Intel driver support and updates, you'll probably find that link. So get those up to date. All right, I did that. It all checked out. All right, now it mentioned the possibility of having multiple GPUs. On this computer, I don't have multiple GPUs, but if I did, I wanted to know what I would select. Which of those would I select for LightBurn? If you have multiple GPUs, if you have multiple graphics processors, you can force LightBurn to use one graphics processor. And the way you do that is in the Windows graphics settings. And I'm going to go back over here to display and show you that again. And I wished I had my laptop so I could show you the ability to pick between multiples, but I don't and I can't, but I'm going to show you how you go in and find that. So let's see here. Let me get to, there we go. All right, so switch back over to the desktop. You are seeing the desktop, very good. All right, so in the desktop, not down here on the taskbar, in the desktop, right click, display settings, and now that you're in display settings, scroll down to graphics. We're looking for graphics right here. And then once you're in your system, display, and graphics, you're going to click browse and select LightBurn. Let's see here. I did this. Oh no, I'm sorry. And this might be one of the problems I've got right now, is because I don't have multiple. I didn't have to do this on this computer. I had to do it on my other. But you can add software and apps. Let's see here. Like here, I don't see the browse option. System, display, graphics. Choose an app to set the preference. And here's one of those things where I told you, I don't know what I'm doing. I did this this week. I did it on this on this PC, and I did it on my laptop. And I done forgot where and how I did this. So I'm reading I told you I made notes. I'm reading my notes here. So go to setting, go to system, display, and graphics. Under choose an app to set preference, you have three options. Search the list, add a desktop app. Let's see here. All right. And the problem, let's see, the problem with using AI on some of this stuff is it's not always looking at the same user interface that you're dealing with. So I had to go through multiple setups to get to the right one. And let's see. All right. I'm reading my notes out loud, or not out loud, to myself instead of out loud. All right, choose an app to set preference. You have three options. Search the list, add a desktop app, and that's what I've got here. So, in fact, let's see if I can do this. Do that there, and can I get that over here? Maybe. And switch. So I've got, with my particular interface here, it's choose an app to set preference, or add desktop app. So I can click here, add desktop app. And then you'd browse around it and find the app. And mine's on my desktop, and find LightBurn. And then add it. I'm going to close that out and bring this back up here. Click Add Desktop App. Browse to where LightBurn is installed. Mine was on the desktop. Select it, and then after adding, click Options. Choose System Default, Power Saving. Use the integrated GPU, High Performance Dedicated GPU, and click Save. But by creating this, by adding the desktop app, this is your correct choice for LightBurn. And using the high performance. Now, if you're using a laptop and you're using the high performance setting, if you're working off of a battery and not plugged up, it's going to drain your battery faster because you're using a higher performance processor and it's not trying to conserve the battery. But this method works on Windows 10 and 11, and you're picking a specific GPU, assigning it to that app, to that software, LightBurn, and LightBurn, when it runs now, it's going to run that one specific GPU at the high performance and minimize any user interface problems within LightBurn because of the GPU. Are you going to make your notes readable, I guess? I don't have any way that I know to do that right now. Let's see. All right. So, but if you have multiple GPUs, and if you have, Terry, if you have problem, and Chicago Bob says, will LightBurn ever go back to supporting Linux? That'd be a question for Chris. I don't know. I'm not in any direct contact with LightBurn support other than the LightBurn forum, LightBurn support forum, and now that people have kind of told me, they said, well, it's kind of like a Discord based, or maybe even Discord. I don't know, but I hate it. I have problems uploading stuff to there. I get a lot of useful information from it, but from when I try to interact with it, I have problems. My mind can't work with it. So I have very little luck dealing with I have better luck talking to Chris here and getting information passed on to LightBurn. But for those who find out that yes, you have two GPUs, two graphics processors, and you're struggling on getting that dedicated one picked out, I got my information. I had to go through it 3 or 4 times with ChatGPT because of the different user interfaces and which Windows operating system are you using and which display you're seeing. But ChatGPT helped me get through the process of finding and picking the appropriate graphics processor for LightBurn for my system. And Bob, if you didn't see it, Chris says no. Linux is not in the cards. All right. So let's see here. Let's move on. All right. Another issue with using laptops is losing communication with your laser due to power saving options with the USB settings. A long time ago, I turned those off. So how do you do that, and what best settings are there to use within LightBurn? And this again is dealing with the laptop more so than a PC. But with a PC and or laptop, another thing that you can cause you to lose connection because of USBs, or if you are using a USB hub, especially a non-powered USB hub, that can cause all kind of problems. If you have to use a USB hub, you want to use a powered USB hub. And then you want to go in and turn off the power saving features in your computer settings. And here's how you do that. You disable the power USB selective suspend in Windows. You press Windows plus the letter S. So you're going to search your Windows. You're going to go into the control panel. So you can go into your search bar and look for control panel, or type Windows S and search. You're going to open your control panel. Go to your hardware and sound, and then into the power options. And let me see if I can get that to walk along here with this so I can show it. So got my desktop open there, and I've got to look. You should be seeing the desktop, and you are. All right. So if you go down here to your search bar and you look for control panel, and my computer's asleep and lagging because it's not want to populate anything. So let's do Windows S, and you gotta love it. There it goes. All right, so that woke that up. So now let's come back over here and try that again. Control panel. There we go. Control panel. There's my control panel. Open that up and bring it over here. And I'm going to go into hardware and sound. And let's make that big. There's sound. This is hardware and sound. I'm probably looking up. Carl says he did it in power settings a long time ago. Yeah, and I don't think that's right here where it's telling me because it's not going to be in sound. Let's try power options. No. Well, let's see. All right, and I had to go back and look at my notes again. So I don't have USB settings in my hardware and sound power options. It says, some versions of Windows have a whole different thing. It says, go to the device manager, USB. Did I see anything that says USB? Device manager. There we go. That's where it is. All right, so let me close that and go back in here, and you're looking at my beautiful face. So let's switch that back over here. So in this version Windows, you go into device manager, and that will open up another menu, and I need to drag it over here. There it is. And then you go into the USB bus controllers, and you're going to right click each of the USB root hubs for their properties. So the root hub, let's see here. Right there. USB root hub 3.0, USB root hub 3.0. So I've got 2 root hubs here, and if you right click on it, go to power management. You see here, go to properties. So you're gonna, in your device manager, universal serial bus controllers, root hub, right click, properties, and then power management. And here it says, allow the computer to turn off this device to save power. Turn that off. Now, this is on my desktop, but I'm having some issues with some of mine going to sleep, and so I'm going to turn that off anyway. Say, okay. Come down to this root hub, right-click, properties, power management, allow computer to turn off this save power, uncheck it, and say, okay. And now I've just turned off those 2 power savings in the root hub there. Now I'm just curious. Properties, power management. Yeah, there's the root hub for USB 3.0, But then I've got some generic hubs, or USB hubs, generic ports, because I've got far more than just 2 USBs, but I've only got 2 USB 3s on this computer. So you're going to look at each of those USBs and look for your power management under properties, power management, and turn off that power saving feature. Right click, properties, power management, turn it off, and OK. Right click, properties, power management, turn that off, say OK. And just rinse and repeat. Power management, turn it off, OK. One more. OK. All right, and here's some super speed USB hubs, properties, power management, turn it off. OK. I got quite a few USB. Turn that off. OK. And one more. Properties, power management, turn it off. OK. So now, I did not have my power saving turned off on my PC, but I do now. And the reason I did that, and I hadn't done it before, is I just realized, like just before going live here, I was trying to access my external hard drive, and it had to wake everything up. All those USB connections were asleep. So I had to go in, wake everything up, make the connections, and then find it. And then so it took a while. It didn't just load up when I wanted it to. But by now turning off all those sleeping modes, I should have access to everything like that. So let's see here. I hit the Win key and type the device manager, hit enter. And Jack the Shop says, I made an app for people to use to turn that off because some people have trouble finding the settings. And yeah, and depending on which version of Windows you're using, and it may be in a different spot than what you're looking for it for. I have done Windows updates, and it changed the USB. Oh, so Rusty Nails is saying that it's changed the USB power settings back on after he's done Windows updates. So that might be something that may be worth keeping an eye on and monitoring when you do updates. Check and make sure that your preferred settings have been maintained. All right. So let's see here. So Chris gave away my real big easy fix right at the beginning there. When you have an issue with your LightBurn interface, what you're looking at on LightBurn, if your color palette disappears, if your ability to minimize and maximize the screen or even close, sometimes the X to close the software is gone. Just hit the Windows button and the up arrow button, and that will fix it, 70-80% of the time. Chris is saying, be warned, from time to time Windows updates will sometimes turn. Yep, that's what we just said. Yep. Rusty Nails just brought that up, and we just addressed that. Steve, will this help when it says does not recognize USB? I don't think so. I think if you're, I haven't run into an issue when it says doesn't recognize USB, but we've talked about this before, and Chris said that a few times that he thought they had already addressed this and fixed it. But I have a problem with my laser. If I've got LightBurn up and running, my laser's connected, it's running a job and does everything it needs to, and then it finishes the job, instead of me leaving the laser on and the fans running and everything loud in the back of my head, I'll power the laser down. And once the laser's powered down, that's fine. I continue editing and creating stuff in LightBurn. And then when I'm ready to go back to work with the laser, I turn the laser on and go to send the job to the laser. It doesn't recognize the laser anymore. I have to right-click to reset the devices so it can go in and find the laser again. And I never did that, I don't think, prior to the 2.0. But by right-clicking on the devices, it will reset those connections and allow me to reconnect to the computer, or reconnect to the laser. And I don't know that that's a sleeping issue or a power issue. I think that's something to do within the programming. Because Chris has said a couple of times that he thought they had fixed that, and maybe they had fixed it on a couple different applications, but with the Rolly, it's still a problem. Because I think I may have seen that it might even be brand-specific problems. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Chris. But I have not seen, Wayne, I have not seen the issue of not recognizing a USB. So none of the things here have I talked about will specifically address that, but it might, because I've never ran into it, so I wouldn't know to look for the solution. All right. So these can happen with both laptops and PCs. And Wayne, Chris is saying that, no, that's usually a timing issue. I don't understand that. It goes on, he says it's a window not releasing the USB port, but again, it's like the screen resolution in so many variations. So, yeah. And I'm learning, and I'm wondering, and Chris might can answer this. I know they've got to be testing it in Windows, but I'm guessing that a lot of the code creators and the people behind the scenes, they're not working in Windows. And Wayne's asking the same thing. What do you mean by timing issue specifically? Because the problems are largely resolution issues that result from a problem with the way that LightBurn works with the resolution and sending information to LightBurn. So ultimately, it's a lot of these are problems that are created because of the way you have your system set up and the fact that you're using Windows. So anyway. All right. Now, a lot of you we've all experienced that inability to dock the menus back into other menus. And even if you have these things set up all correctly, if you're using the zoom on your Windows, you're zoomed in to make the screen bigger, even if everything's set up perfectly or ideally, you can still have a problem with getting that to dock correctly. And this is a problem that Craig ran into, and Craig discovered this. And once he discovered it, he shared it with me, and I dove into, okay, why did this work? All right, when LightBurn is on your screen, and let me pull up my LightBurn. There we go, and I'm going to show you my LightBurn. All right, so when LightBurn is on my screen and the user interface knows where my mouse is in relation to the position, it knows where its position is in relation to the user interface. It knows right now that the mouse is in the center of this menu. It's in the center of my cuts and layers. LightBurn knows that based on its position and the way that it recognizes where it's at according to the resolution settings and the zoom settings and all that. And if I look at, let's see here, I want to change my zoom. There we go. No, that's just the zoom there. There we go. So now I'm at 300%. There's 250. There's 175. There's 125, 150. All right, so I'm zoomed in at 150%, and I go to LightBurn. LightBurn, with what we can see, what I'm showing you on screen, where that mouse pointer is at, LightBurn thinks it's somewhere else because of the scaling. Because I have zoomed in the Windows, using the Windows zoom, it confuses the user interface on what its actual position is. It looks like it's somewhere physically. We see it where it's at, but LightBurn uses in the background, it has, because of that scaling, it thinks it's somewhere else. So it's not allowing you to dock it, because while you have that in the correct position, it doesn't know that it's in the correct position. It thinks it's somewhere else. So when you're running into a problem, and by docking the menus, what I'm talking about is this. If I drag this over here, and I've got that over there, and I've got this one over here, and because I'm not on a laptop right now, I should not have any problem. You can, when you drag these and you bring this over here, and see how it turned gray or blue? It's ready to dock that and snap it into place. But when you run into a problem, well, like right now, there it goes. But there, for a second there, it wasn't letting me want to dock it. But when you run into a problem, no matter what you do, you can't get, and I'm not showing you the screen. There we go. That's docking. When you bring this over here and look for that, pop in there, done. Pop in there, done. But whenever it will not let you dock that, no matter what, it's because of that digital zoom you've got on the screen. So bring that back down to 125 or 100, and when you do, and you use your LightBurn docking, it's going to pop right in there almost every single time without a problem. And that's because when you've got it at 100%, the mouse cursor is exactly where LightBurn is expecting it to be, and there's no confusion due to the scaling. So when it won't dock, it's because you've got that zoomed in most of the time. So, yeah. And Chris says timing is when the Windows does something, then runs something on another thread and thinking it is finished on the first thread, but thinks so it just, Windows is lagging. Windows ain't caught up with where you're at. Yeah, and I fixed that, not seeing a screen. But the issue with it not wanting to dock Windows on a laptop, and like I said, and this goes out to Craig. Craig is the one that identified, because I was like, man, I've not had an issue once I did those things. But he realized that it was zoomed in. Once he zoomed out, he said it docked perfectly. And that's why that zooming in will keep you from docking your Windows, because LightBurn doesn't recognize the position of your mouse. All right, so not that. I want that. There we go. All right, and now. All right. Oh, there we go. And the comments are slow in this stream, but I think I've got most of those. All right, so I asked you, and Chris mentioned this in one of our previous streams. You know, LightBurn 2.0, when they were beta testing it, most of those guys, including Chris, they were using, ideal machines with the ideal setups, and a lot of these things were inadvertently missed because they weren't using substandard equipment. It's not a programming problem. It's just that their equipment was set up better and it didn't have these issues. And I can almost assuredly bet that they probably won't run into this again. Once they get all the problems fixed on this, they'll have learned, let's not push out 2.5 or 2.1 until we get it tested more thoroughly. And Jack says, yeah, Jack, because you ain't using Windows, are you? Jack says, I've never seen these LightBurn issues. You're not using Windows, are you, Jack? I'm pretty sure he told us before he's using something else. So, that is what I've experienced and learned over the past couple of weeks trying to help people with issues. And Jack says he doesn't use Windows on some of the laptops. Yeah, don't see him on Mac. All right, so that covers the LightBurn stuff that I wanted to talk about. Now I want to take a minute and talk to you about the new support system and how it's going to work for Hobo with Wood in 2026. I'm moving away from Patreon. Patreon is going to go bye-bye. Patreon is too expensive. Patreon takes 10% of my money every month, and with virtually no support. When you, as a patron, have a problem, there's nothing that I can do about it other than tell you to contact Patreon support. And when I have a problem, there's not a phone number or a direct connect that I've just got to email a support, and same thing that you do, and then wait for a reply. And because sometimes things are not communicated correctly, either on my part or on their part, there's back and forth with emails to try and get things straightened out. What could have been handled in one phone call takes 3 or 4 or 5 messages before you find a resolution, and it's not the best situation. So I am going to be going over to MemberPress, and MemberPress will be fully integrated into the Hobo with Wood website. And the way it's going to work, right now when you want to download a file from hobowithwood.com, if you're a patron or if you're not a patron, you have to set up a customer profile to be able to download your files, because your downloads have unlimited downloads. Once you buy a file from hobowithwood.com, it's emailed to you as soon as your payment is confirmed, and you can always log into your account and download it again for free because it's in your customer profile. You've bought it, you've paid for it, it's yours. But you have to be logged in. And for the patrons who want to use their coupon code for the discounts, they have to be logged in with the exact same email from Patreon in order for their discount codes to work. Well, all of your customer profiles that every one of you have already set up are still going to be there, and they're still going to work. None of that's going away. So if you already have an account on hobowithwood.com, it's still going to be there. It's the one you're going to use. It's going to be same passwords that you've got to log in. But with MemberPress, by using that now, when you go to hobowithwood.com, before you can do anything, you're going to need to log into your account. You're going to see the page. You're going to log in so that Jack in the Shop is on his account page, and he's now able to go in and put in files, buy whatever he wants, do whatever, and there will be a page there that's going to be the I don't know what I'll call it, the videos and supporter page, the MemberPress page, whatever. It'll be just like the Patreon page where I share posts and videos. That'll be in the hobowithwood.com website. There'll be a page just for that you click on. And if you're a paying member of MemberPress, you will have access to that information and those videos. When I first started Patreon, I had zero information out there. No, Chris, Patreon has little to no support. It's hard to get any support. I'm guessing that was a little bit of a joke on your part. But I had this much value out there as a creator when I started Patreon. Well, now I've got over $600 worth of files that are available to patrons who pay monthly support and can get discounted prices. Now that I've got so much out there and there's so much more value to this, I'm going to be changing the tier support for new supporters coming on next year. Current patrons, fear not, your prices are not changing. If you are a patron now on Patreon, if you're paying at $3.6 or is it $3.6 or $20 or $3.9 and $20, that's what it is. I think $3.9 and $20. Those tiers are not changing. As long as if you have a current paid support right now on Patreon, when I have MemberPress imported and up and going, your membership will come in at those same price structures. Anybody signing up new as of January, the new prices are going to be $10, $20, and $30 a month. $10 for bronze at a 60% discount on the digital files, $20 for silver, 80% off, and $30 for gold, 100% off. But you're going to have to log in when you go to hobowithwood.com. Then once you're in, you'll be able to access all the files like you do now. You're already there. You can use your coupon code to get your discounted pricing. If you're a paying, you'll still be able to log in as a guest. You do not have to be a paid supporter to log in, but you do have to log in to be able to download stuff, even if you're just buying it at the regular $1.99 price. So you'll have to create a customer account on hobowithwood.com to see what's in the website. You're not going to have to be a paying member to get in. A paying member only sees the videos and uploads and the posts that I share, like I have been doing with Patreon. Cloudfather says, cheers, you're working with Millmage. I keep seeing a random Z runaway. Have had it for I've gotten really disheartened with Millmage because it's not where I had hoped it would be whenever they released it. And officially they haven't released it. It's still a pre-release candidate. And Wayne says there's no login option there. A lot of things are missing off the web page that I've got to get straightened out. There's a lot of things that are in flux right now. The search feature's gone. The login feature may be gone. But all that's going to be fixed within the next 3 to 4 weeks with the new. So there's a lot of things that are in transition and they're in flux. And I apologize for that, but it'll all be back. I'm between total lossing my camper and running to doctor's appointments every other day and this or that. I'm just impossible to stay focused and get everything done on a timely basis. Rick, let's see. What is... All right, I tried to change from annual to monthly on Patreon. And Chris is it won't let you change until it expires. If you get it, if you catch it and you don't renew on an annual, great. But if you're not able to catch it and switch it to monthly and it renews as an annual, don't worry about it. Because when the MemberPress is instated, you'll have if you currently have 6 months worth of paid membership on Patreon, when it switches over to MemberPress, you'll have the same already prepaid 6 months in MemberPress. If you've got if you renewed right now and you've got a full year, when you log in MemberPress, you'll have a full year. Whatever your current state is, membership-wise in Patreon, you'll have the equivalent in MemberPress when it goes live. You don't have to worry about losing anything. I'll be the one that misses out on the 10%. If you signed up for an annual membership on a gold right now, what's that? Whatever the level is, 10% of that money they're going to keep. So that's the only reason I said don't renew on the annuals, because that's going to be more money they're going to keep. But if you don't catch it and you can't get it changed, don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. We'll be okay going forward. And Chris said that I put MilMage on hold for the same reasons. Yeah, it's just not. It's very, very disheartening that it's not any better than what it was. Jay says, my problem is on Patreon. They are telling me that I am not a paying member, but I was, so what should I do? Well, Jay, let me look real quick, because I'll tell you, without looking, the majority of the problem people have when they say that Patreon's not recognizing them is because a lot of you have got multiple accounts in Patreon. So let me look you up real fast. Jay. And I've got 2 J's in here. One is definitely Jay Hilgenberg, and the other one doesn't have a last name, but one has an appleid.com email and another one has a mac.com email. So I don't know if those are both the same J. When I look at the one that's obviously J Hilgenberg, I show that you are paid on November 13th. But a lot of the times, most of the issues come down to people using multiple emails or have multiple accounts set up. Yeah, what Chris said, turn autopay off now. If you're on autopay in Patreon, go in there and turn off autopay. Because if you've got autopay turned on, it's going to automatically renew. If you turn that off, when it expires, it's going to ask you, do you want to renew? And how you want to renew. But we're going to get all these problems, and I can't put this up here, but Wayne, thank you, sir. Wayne did a $20 donation, and thank you very much, sir. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, if you're using autopay right now, turn off autopay. All right, let's see here. And all of the issues with Patreon, not recognizing you, not knowing you, 3 or 4 more weeks of that, and it's all going to be gone. The goal is to have this up and running before mid-January. I don't want anybody renewing anything with Patreon in January of next year. I want to get everything in MemberPress for next year. So a lot of work for me to do, website related, support related. I've got a few requests from folks needing some assistance with designs that I'm going to do my best to get to this week. Actually, next week. But keep in mind, I've got, let's see, next week, calendar. Today's the 6th. All right. We got that. I'm missing an appointment somewhere. I'm missing a doctor's appointment. I've got a doctor's appointment, I'm pretty sure, next week, and it's November, December. Yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment that I'm missing somewhere. I got a doctor's appointment I've got to run my dad to this coming week. Plus, I got to find a home. I've got to get everything. I got to go find me an RV. I've got to find me somewhere to live and get this all insurance all settled up. So my plate is full and running over. But we'll get it. We'll handle it. We'll get it done. And Wayne says, my learned numbers tonight is in the teens. That's excellent. Yeah, I learned a whole lot this week, these past two weeks, on trying to minimize some of the bugs in LightBurn. And like I said, a lot of them, they all stem from that scaling and different things you do, from zooming in, zooming out, and resolution settings. All of these things, different things, can affect that one thing, that one scaling aspect in LightBurn, and it creates a whole bunch of different random problems. Am I still going to be doing Hobo with chips? Yes, I am going to be, but here's what I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to learn to pace myself. I was trying to do too much because of all of my personal obligations now. I was pushing myself too much, trying to get in those 2 live streams every Saturday. I may be able to get back to that if things calm down some, but I do want to continue to work with the CNC. I want to get my other CNC out of the other room, bring it in here to the wood shop here, and do more. But I don't know. What I really need to find out is what is their schedule for Millmage. They announced 2 years ago they were launching Millmage. 2.5 years ago they announced launching Millmage, and now they've just now put it out in a pre-release candidate. Still not ready for release. I want to know what their anticipated schedule is for actually incorporating the ability for V carving, for actual 3D carving. Right now it's only 2.5D, and nobody really wants to learn 2.5D. The calculator that I created for inlays is perfect for 2D and 2.5D situations. But anybody who wants to do really advanced work like that, they don't want to work with 2D or 2.5D engravings. They want to work with 3D engravings. And Millmage ain't there. And I'd like to know, that's the next thing we're introducing. Well, they were going to introduce Millmage 2.5 years ago. So is it going to be another 2.5 years before they bring out V carving? I don't know. I really wanted to stay true to LightBurn and to Millmage because of their relationship. But it's really disheartening with what it is. Let's see here. Question for anyone. In LightBurn, I can see my camera feed, but cannot get it to overlay. Do I need to redo the calibration again? If you're not seeing the overlay, then that's just a switch. If you've got the switch turned on, let me look here. Settings, camera. Well, it's either a full color or black and white. You shouldn't have to turn on the camera display. It should automatically be on. Chris is suggesting going back and forth between wood chips. Millmage is not even close to starting 3D. Yeah, they said 3D was next in line. Then they came out with this other thing no one wanted. What was the other thing they came out with? And it is on, yeah. Chris, I thought that there was an option to turn on the overlay and turn the overlay off for the camera. But when I go into the settings for the camera, the default overlay options are either black and white or full color. Preview settings, default, all that's turned on. But Richard was asking, why he's not seeing it in LightBurn. All right, let's see. Switch. So the camera default overlay is black and white. And see, I don't have, and honestly, and I'm guessing, who was that again? Richard? Yeah. Richard, I'm guessing, are you new to using the laser and LightBurn? Are you within the first 6 months of the year of using LightBurn? Because when I first started out using LightBurn, I thought having a camera would make things so much simpler and so much easier until I got a camera. Then when I got a camera and realized how much work there is in using the camera and LightBurn when you're really wanting to be really precise with your placement, it ain't worth the time and trouble. Because of the variations in the thickness of your material, each material thickness needs a separate calibration. I do not use a camera at all. I use the framing feature to make sure my placement is correct. So, and he says, no, he's been doing it for two plus years. Yeah, I find that the camera is more of a pain in the butt. And there's Rick saying the exact same thing. I never use the camera. It's a pain in the butt. And that's my exact words that just come out of my mouth. It is a pain in the butt to use the camera because it's not precise unless you've calibrated it to that exact thickness of that material. And my plywood that I use might vary by, half a millimeter from one piece to the next, and that's enough to throw off the calibration of the camera. It ain't a lot, but if you're looking for precision placement, it can be a problem. So I use the laser on when framing to get precise placement of my material. And instead of using the block framing, I use the rubber band framing, and that helps also with making sure the placement is where it needs to be. I've got used to not having to use it, so I do manual alignment. Yeah. The camera, and I went to all the trouble of getting the camera up, and I even went through a half a dozen or more different calibrations with the Rolly when I first got the Rolly and calibrated everything. Oh, this is going to be great. But then just realized half a dozen calibrations wasn't enough. I needed to have even more calibrations. It ain't worth the time and trouble. I can put the material on there and use the laser on when framing and get exactly where I want it to be and not even never worry with the camera. I use the camera to see if I have material in the machine. I use the camera to watch what's going on so I don't have to keep turning around and looking and breaking and putting a crick in your neck. Where is it at? I do the same thing, but I don't use the camera from the machine. I will use the camera that's on the tripod in front of the machine to watch the progress as the machine is working. All right. So, is there any questions that either from tonight or that you want to bring up now while you've got me and all the group here and all the experts like Chris and Jack in the shop and everybody here? Is there anybody that's got a question that hasn't been addressed tonight, either about what I've talked about or totally unrelated? Two things. My membership is up. And that's one. And two, to what time will next week's show, Terry, my goal initially was I did not want to be heads up against the other channel. And I've been trying to please too many masters. Not that they're a master, but I've been trying to serve too many masters, trying to accommodate and placate too many people. And all of those attempts to do that are just additional stress. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to focus on what's best for me and hope that it all works and shakes itself out. And I think this 8 o'clock time slot might be the way I go, at least until I get all of everything worked out and straightened out and get all of my systems up and working and running again. And we'll see. But right now, I don't know. I'm having to play everything by ear. In fact, like I said, I swear I put in my calendar an appointment for this week for a doctor's appointment, and I don't see it. So I put it in the wrong place. I got to find it, find out where I got to be, when I got to be, because this is a very important appointment I can't afford to miss. Got to get him there. But because I have so many other obligations, it is so hard for me to get a routine going again for this. But we'll be back. I'll be back to a regularly scheduled programming, hopefully by first of the year. Hopefully. Ordinary woodworker says, I agree, the camera on the Rolly only gets you close to the ballpark, and then use framing to get good placement. I'm the opposite. I use the camera to get my design in the overall location and then frame to complete the final location. And there, let me show you this. Because if you can get in the habit of paying attention to your placement in LightBurn, I'm just going to put a simple rectangle out here. And let's turn that output on so you can see it. And if I bring this, I'll place it right here on my work bed. And let's say I've got my toolpath, or a tool for my 300 by 300 material. And let's say this is going to be 300 by 300, and put it in the bottom left corner. So there is my actual toolpath for my material. And there's a bunch of pieces missing off this, where there was a piece on here that's already been cut out. And let's just do that. Let's see. First we got to convert it to a shape first, or to a path. Give me my nodes. And let's grab this node right here and tell that to be smooth. And bring that up here. And I don't know. I'm just putting some random cutout piece that's on here. And I've got this area in my material. I know that this right here is good solid wood, and I need to cut this out in that location. And if it was that big, where does this need to be? Well, if this is my 300 by 300 material, I know that if I'm using the grid, the measuring on my honeycomb, I know where 300 by 300 is. It's 30 by 30 centimeters. It's 300 by 300 millimeters. And I can look over here. Turn that back on where I can see my... Or there it is. I can see that the meat, and I'm just going to do this for visual reference right now. If there is where that cutoff is, and this one comes down to right about there, then I know I need to have this rectangle somewhere. And if I look, if I got that one selected, if I look right up here, that tells me that's at about 146, or it's at 146 millimeters. And this one is at 187 millimeters. So if I look down here, I know where that meat's at on that material with my measuring, my measurements on the side of my honeycomb. I know that that piece needs to be placed somewhere, you know, and if there was a piece over here that was cut out, and I knew I needed to get this in between there, well, once I've got that placed, and this brings up another subject, and I'll address it because I know some of you are already asking. But if that's where that needs to be to cut out, and I don't have a camera, I can look right here. If I put this, my anchor point, in the bottom left corner, that's this position right here. That position is at 35 on the Y and 70 on the X. So that's where that bottom corner would be, 35 and 70. That's where I know I need to put that piece of artwork. But people are going, wait a minute, but I don't have a camera. I don't know where that cutout's at. Well, if I'm using one of my skeletons, I've got my skeletons saved. They're in my art library, and I can pull up a skeleton, drop it on there. I know where the meat's at. I don't have to have a camera. I just drop it on the machine. I know which skeleton I'm using, place where I want my meat to come out of, and then cut it out. That eliminates the need for a camera. But by knowing I've dropped my anchor point for that square, I know that the anchor of that bottom corner is at 35 and 70. When I put my material over there, I can move the material around, even if I don't have the skeleton. If I've got a random piece like this and no skeleton to choose from, but I know that right here between 35 and 70 is a good piece of material, I can put that on there. It's going to cut it out. So recognizing your X and Y position in LightBurn and being able to relate that positioning in LightBurn to your honeycomb makes even the need for cameras even less. Let's see here. Not sure what avoiding conflict can cause additional problems. Not sure what you were talking about there, Chris. Crafting Gene says, I pay yearly. The only way I can cancel autopay is to decline or to cancel the membership. It will be canceled as of the renewal date. Will that work? Will join the new one at that time. And I don't know for sure, but if you can turn off either auto pay whenever it's time for it to renew the annual membership, it's going to ask you, do you want to renew this? And then you should be able to say yes and change it from yearly to monthly and just continue your, because ideally, if you can keep a paid membership in Patreon, when I make this transition, it's going to be so much simpler to keep you in the current paying tier levels. Because what I'm going to do, and this is, some of you are guilty of this. You'll sign up as a gold patron for 3 months, get your 100% discount, and go in and download a whole bunch of files, and then you cancel. And then you come back 3 months later, and you pay for 2 or 3 months, and get all the files, and then you cancel. So you're giving me about a half a year support and getting all the files that everybody else is doing a full year support. So to stop that from happening, current patron paying supporters who are on the current tiers of 3, 9, and 20, they're going to maintain that same tier payment in the new system as long as you maintain your account. As soon as you cancel your account, if you're one of those that are playing the game and you cancel your $20 gold tier sponsorship, when you want to renew in the new membership, MemberPress, you'll have to renew at the $30 tier, not the $20 tier. So if you maintain your paying Patreon support, it's going to continue to be that same support going forward. So for any of you that are currently bronze and silver and you want to be gold, if you update now to gold, now, whenever I switch over to MemberPress, you'll still be gold at 20 and not gold at 30. So you'll be saving $10 a month if you sign up now, upgrade to the gold, but only do it monthly payment. Don't sign up yearly payment. I don't know if you said, if so, I didn't hear, but have been wondering about your health. Well, continued prayers are always needed and appreciated. My health is not the greatest. I should have gone to the hospital a couple of weeks ago because I was in really, really bad shape, but I don't have insurance. Can't afford doctors, and I don't trust doctors. But I was in really, really bad pain and suffering from real bad AFib. And I'm now, even still, I can't walk 50 yards and turn around and come back. I'm just can't do it. My ejection fraction is probably in the basement. I've got I've had quintuple bypass, multiple strokes. I've got a very weak heart, and all the additional stresses and headaches have really taken a toll on me. And I'm not in the best of health. And I've decided to bite the bullet a week and a half ago and go ahead and sign up during this sign-up period. For anybody that's not in the U.S., and I don't care who you are, right, left, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, I don't care. Obamacare sucks. Our healthcare system right now is a joke. I had health insurance. I had good health insurance that I paid for until Obamacare kicked in. And then when Obamacare kicked in, I could no longer afford health care. I could not afford what they were charging for me to have health insurance. So I ended up letting my health insurance lapse because I had no choice. And that's when I had my heart attacks. And that's when I had my strokes. And my hospital bills were pushing $400,000 and $500,000 that I was expected to pay out of my pocket. It's a joke. Well, this year I decided, especially with this last scare, a couple weeks ago, I better get signed up for the insurance again. So I went in to sign up, and it wouldn't let me. It said, "I'm sorry, but you don't have enough income to sign up for insurance. You are not allowed to buy insurance. I have to be on Medicare or Medicaid. I have to be on Medicaid, which is the state level medical support." And so they contact me and they start asking me, "Do you have this card? Do you own this card? Do you have this card?" I said, "I haven't owned any of those things for 20 years. Do you still have this? Do you still have that? Where do you bank? How much money you got in bank? What have you got? What assets? What are you this? What are you that?" And I'm like, you don't need to know all that. All I want to do is buy health insurance. It won't let me. I don't qualify for health insurance. I have to be on Medicaid. And in order to do that, I have to give them everything I've got, tell them what I've got, where I've got, what I've got, and they're going to take what they want before they'll start giving me the support I need. I just told them, stick it. I ain't worried about it. I don't have coverage, can't afford coverage. I was going to buy it. I was going to pay for it, but they won't even let me pay for it. Our system sucks. Terribly sucks. My health is not great, but I'll be here as long as the good Lord will let me stay here. But when He calls me home, I'm gone. Nothing I can do about it, insurance or not. Let's see here. Cannot turn off auto pay without canceling. All right, and Steve Smith says he can't turn off auto pay without canceling. I don't know if you're annual or monthly. If you're monthly right now, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. The only ones that really would benefit, and it doesn't benefit you as the supporter at all. The only person that benefits right now by you canceling your auto renew is me. For annual payers. Monthly payers, it don't matter. It's irrelevant, totally irrelevant, because you need to keep your monthly support going so that when I do the transition, it's easier to do that, and you get to keep that your current pay tier. All right. And honestly, if you're silver or bronze annual, that's not really that big of a deal either. It's just the gold annuals that they take that. Was it $20 a month, 2 years, $240? Yeah. So they're taking 10% of that. They're taking $24 of that money. And if you didn't do annuals, well, then they're going to get $2 instead of $24. So the only one that benefits by not doing an annual renew is me. It's not going to affect you as a patron one way or the other. And honestly, it also, to ensure that you maintain your current pay level and there's no problems or minimal amount of confusion, if you can't cancel it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And Chuck says even at $30 a month on the gold tier, it's worth it. Oh, yes, it is. I've been undervalued my support level for a while, but I just didn't feel right about just, upping it to existing people who have been my supporters, and I'm not going to do that. If you're an existing patron, you're going to maintain your $20 support. So no worries there. But even for new upcoming at $30, $1 a day, it's definitely worth it. Patreon have changed since I looked. You can now change from annual to monthly before annual expires. Canceled active till August 26th. Yeah, so people are seeing different experiences there. The platinum, yeah, I hadn't anybody take me up on the platinum. Patreon does not allow cancel auto renew. Only option is to cancel. Yeah. And Chris says cancel works. And Bob's World says I fell into that group too. I'm guessing as far as your health care, they won't let you buy it, and they won't take everything for it. They'll give you the state. Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, and Chris says move down to. I don't think they'll let me move to Australia, Chris. I don't know. Maybe the fact that. Because they're very particular about who they even let visit your country, right? Let alone move in. They have some pretty strict restrictions about anybody coming down there. I guess after you shift over, we need to go to Patreon and get cancel. Yes, yeah. Once we get everything moved over, then and once we have the member press going on the website and everything's done, yes, everybody's going to cancel Patreon. Done. And if you renewed annual this month, for some reason you can't cancel Patreon and it renewed for your annual membership, well, you're still going to have your annual membership in member press for all of 2026 without costing you anything in the new system because you've paid it in the existing system. Nobody's going to lose out. I'm going to make sure you don't lose out on anything. And as soon as the member press is up, everybody will go into Patreon and say, bye. So after your new system is set up, do we keep monthly payments with pay? No, we don't. We're not going to do. Everything will be done through the new system. If you're doing monthly payments, you will have a membership that you'll have to sign up. You'll have an initial sign up in the new member press. Everybody will, but existing patrons will be able to sign up with a discounted price that reflects their current payment tier in Patreon. You will not have to sign up at the new 10, 20, 30 tiers. Existing patrons will have the opportunity to sign up in the new system at the reduced pricing. How come you're going? Why am I going away? What is the reason? Lack of support, the changes that they implement, and they're taking 10% of my money every month. Mainly, it's financial. The new member press that I'm using, I get 100% of that money. I get it all. There is, they take no cut of that. And I will have full control of that entire system. I will be the support. I will be the technical support. I won't be having to try and contact somebody, either other side of the world or who's sleeping or been smoking a bong for the last 4 hours. I'm the support system for the new member press. Those are the reasons. Money and support. Give us the option to stay on old rate or go to new rate. Just tell them you know me. They'll let you in. Oh, as far as coming into the country? Well, Chris says, give us the option to stay on the old rate or go to the new rate. That actually you could do that, because the way that it's going to have to work is you're going to have to go in and create a membership, just like you did when you went to Patreon. You're going to say, all right, I'm signing up as a new member on MemberPress, and I'm going to do monthly or annual support at this level, gold, silver, or bronze. And for those who are going to want to maintain their existing payment level, I will have a special coupon code that you'll have to use to be able to get that payment. And as long as you keep it paid, it will always be that payment. But the minute that you cancel that to renew, it'll have to renew at the new pricing. But should you be an existing patron now, and you say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not paying you. It's worth the $30. It's not. I need to be paying the regular $30 and not the $20. You don't have to use that code. You can sign up as the $30 tier. You'll have the option to sign up at the discount if you're a current paying patron, or sign up as the new tiers. Patreon will not or won't let switch to monthly if I already had annual. Well, if your annual is still valid, if your annual and yours expires, I think it was you saying yours expires January 2nd, you're probably not going to be able to make any changes until January 2nd. And I think I seen a few of you said that you couldn't cancel the auto renew, but I think what Chris was saying is go ahead and hit cancel. Go ahead and hit cancel, and it won't auto renew. And when it does expire, they're probably going to send you a contact that says, hey, your membership is expiring. Would you like to renew this? So if yours is set, if anybody has a Patreon account that is going to expire in January of next year, and it will not let you turn off your auto pay, hit the cancel button. Go ahead and hit cancel. And because we don't want anything billed to Patreon in January of next year. If you've got any payments coming out in Patreon in the month of December, leave those going. But anybody who is going to be carried into the following January, cancel it. don't have any payments come out in Patreon in January. There's going to be some people who don't see this, and they're going to do that. It's not going to be a problem. I'll get around it. But that'll be the simplest thing to do, is if it renews in January, go ahead now and cancel your membership, and we'll be good. Patreon let me, Chris saying, Patreon let me swap. I wonder what it looks at to determine to give the option or not. Maybe because it's in the last month. Just cancel it anyway. Yeah. Don't anybody and everybody. If yours cancels in the month of January, go ahead and cancel now so it doesn't auto-renew. And Wayne says, I think I'm paid up till November of next year, and that's fine. And there are a lot of people that are like that. A lot of people have renewed in October, November, and even this month. All that's going to transfer over. You'll be paid up until November of next year in the new system. It's all going to be okay. You're not going to lose out. But you will need to, what will happen, and like in the case of Wayne. Wayne's paid up. He's got a gold tier, I think it is, and he's paid up until November next year. Wayne will have to go in and sign up for a gold membership in MemberPress, and then I'm going to gift him a annual support. So he's not even going to have to pay anything. It's just going to be gifted to him. It's going to be a lot of work, boys and girls, on my end, but it's going to be worth it because I'm going to keep 100% of the money, and nobody's going to lose out. Nobody's going to lose out. All right, so I haven't even been able to log in and do anything and help folks. The help that I've been able to give people with troubleshooting some of these LightBurn issues was all done via text and email and not having to share screens because I couldn't do that. So I haven't looked at emails. I haven't looked at comments. I haven't looked at anything for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So if you've asked for questions or help and haven't received any replies, I'm sorry. I've just not been there. And Gene says, okay, we'll cancel the membership as of the February date. Yeah, hit cancel now, and it will keep you current. If you're paid up through February, if you hit cancel, you're still going to be paid up through February. Your access won't change. And you'll have the option to come in with the new system at the current pricing, and all will be good. Yeah, you're good. But with everything I've got going on, especially now that I've got to go find a new home, and now I've got to think about things that I wasn't even entertaining. So I don't know how much I'm going to be available through the month of January or through the month of December, because I'm focusing on getting all of these changes done. But I found these, and I'm wanting to make some new designs. It's a little battery pack operated 15 LED, and it's like the little Christmas lights, but they're just a strand of 15 LEDs. And I want to make a couple of different designs that have, the lights positioned just right, spaced out appropriately, so I can just pop these in and create some unique ideas. But I got ideas and I got plans. I just ain't got time. Time is time is just something I don't have. A commodity. Time is a commodity that I have short supply of. All right, boys and girls, I'm gonna get out of here. Call it an evening. I do, again, thank you each and every one for your support. Thank you for your patience. I do have the best patrons out there in the YouTube world. And I will see you next week. And I don't even know where the stop here. There it is. Thank you again. And I'll see you when I see you.